If something under your bed ever breathes your name, don't lean in to listen. Don't check. Don't be brave. Just run. The story starts with a simple rule, one that nobody believes until it's far too late. Evan had never been the type to scare easily. He grew up in a noisy house, surrounded by siblings, chaos, and everything except silence. So when he finally moved into his own apartment, an old, cheap one-bedroom at the edge of town, he thought the quiet would feel peaceful. But the quiet in that place wasn't peaceful. It felt aware. The first night, it began small. A soft exhale he thought was the wind, a low shift of fabric that sounded like sheets moving, even though he was perfectly still. He tried shrugging it off, telling himself he was overthinking, but the breathing kept returning, steady, slow, almost patient. He didn't want to look under the bed. Everyone jokes about monsters hiding there, but no one ever expects the joke to answer back. Voiceover in whispered, Evan. He sat up so fast the room spun. He froze, listening. His heart banged against his ribs like it wanted to escape before he did. The voice came, it began small. A soft exhale he thought was the wind. A low shift of fabric that sounded like sheets moving even though he was perfectly still. He tried shrugging it off, telling himself he was overthinking, but the breathing kept returning, steady, slow, almost patient. He didn't want to look under the bed. Everyone jokes about monsters hiding there, but no one ever expects the joke to answer back. Voiceover whispered, Evan. He sat up so fast the room spun. He froze, listening. His heart banged against his ribs like it wanted to escape before he did. The voice came again, closer, breathy, and softer. It began small, a soft exhale he thought was the wind. A low shift of fabric that sounded like sheets moving, even though he was perfectly still. He tried shrugging it off, telling himself he was overthinking. But the breathing kept returning, steady, slow, almost patient. He didn't want to look under the bed. Everyone jokes about monsters hiding there, but no one ever expects the joke to answer back. Voiceover whispered, Evan? He sat up so fast the room spun. He froze, listening. His heart banged against his ribs like it wanted to escape before he did. The voice came again, softer this time, breathier. Down here. He didn't look. He refused to look because something primal inside him whispered a warning. Looking is the invitation. He spent the rest of the night sitting upright, lights on, legs pulled close so nothing could grab him. By morning, he convinced himself it was stress. New place, old pipes, weird acoustics. He even laughed at himself on the way to work. But when he returned home that night, the bedroom door was already open. He knew he'd closed it. Inside, something felt different. The air was warmer, as if someone had been breathing in the room for hours. He left the lights on again, played music, talked to himself, anything to drown out the sounds from beneath the bed. But around midnight, the music stopped. On its own. The silence fell so thick that he could hear his own pulse in his ears. And then, once again, the breathing. A slow inhale, a heavy exhale, close enough that he swore he felt the bed shift with each breath. This time, the whisper was louder. Look at me. Evan grabbed his pillow and slept on the couch. He didn't care if it made him look childish. Childish was better than dead. But the couch didn't help. Around 3 a.m., something crawled across the floor of the living room. Bare skin sliding on wood, hands dragging, fingernails lightly tapping. It stopped beside him. Then its voice spilled out just inches from his ear. "You forgot to say good night." He didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, he packed a bag for a hotel. He didn't care about the deposit, didn't care about leaving things behind. He just needed to get out. But when he returned to the bedroom to grab his phone, the charger, the bed, had moved. Not by a few inches, by feet. Dragged toward the middle of the room, its legs scraping deep marks into the wood. Something had shifted it like a toy. He felt his throat tighten. His mind screamed to leave, but his feet refused to move. Then he noticed the sheets. The blanket hung off the side of the bed, touching the floor. Something underneath gently tugged at it, like a child playing. The breathing started again, louder, faster, excited. He backed away slowly. "Don't leave me alone again." He ran. He didn't even bother closing the door behind him. At the hotel, he finally slept, exhausted, shaking, half expecting something to be under that bed too. But nothing happened. For 3 days, he avoided the apartment completely. He planned to cancel the lease, grab his documents in daylight, and never return. On the 4th day, he gathered his courage and went back with a friend, Mia, who thought he was just overwhelmed and imagining things. She insisted on coming with him because nobody should face their paranoia alone. Inside, the apartment felt colder, stale, like no one had opened a window in decades. The bedroom door was closed this time, and Evan hadn't closed it. Mia rolled her eyes. "Let me check it for you. Nothing's under the bed except dust." Before he could stop her, she swung the door open. Everything was exactly as he left it, except the bed was back in place. Neat. Normal. Like something had cleaned up. Mia knelt down. For the first time, Evan noticed the silence, not just the absence of breathing, the absence of everything. Like the whole apartment was holding its breath. "Mia," Evan whispered, "don't." She lifted the blanket and looked under. Silence stretched. Too long. "Mia?" he whispered again. Her voice came back shaky. "There's nothing here. Just dark. I can't even see the wall." "What do you mean you can't see the wall?" Evan tried grabbing her arm to pull her up. But the darkness under the bed moved, not a shadow, a shape. Something with a slow inhale, dragging air from the room. Then a hand shot out, small, grayish, almost human but with fingers too long. It grabbed Mia's wrist and yanked her down with such force the bed slammed against the floor. Her scream cut off instantly. There was no struggle, no more thrashing. Just one loud snap. Then silence, the kind of silence that feels like it's listening. Evan stumbled back, falling to the floor. The hand slid back under the bed. The breathing started again, deep, satisfied. Then the voice rose once more, soft but clear. "You didn't look." The blanket lifted on its own, revealing nothing but a black void that pulsed as if it were alive. Something inside shifted closer, its breath now right at the edge. Evan ran again. He didn't stop running until he reached the street. People stared, confused, but he didn't care. He never went back. Never filed a report. Never mentioned Mia's name again. Because sometimes the truth doesn't get you closure. It gets you killed. Voiceover whispered, And if you ever hear breathing under your bed, don't be brave like Mia. Don't be curious like Evan. Just run, because whatever's down there doesn't like being ignored. Subscribe before your screen goes dark. This is the digital nightmare. So tell me, would you dare look under your bed if you heard your name whispered from below?